Well, my uncle, rest in peace, Richard Purcello, spent about a decade researching our family history. And with that, he found documents taking us to the Muskogee Creek Nation and supporting our citizenship there. Then DNA with the European portion of my family, which also has a lot of slavery, with DNA to confirm our relatives and our interconnectedness in that narrative, in that story. And then with my African heritage too. So when I started to read the book and look at pictures, and my uncle interviewed every family member that he could find, first cousin, second cousin, third cousin. He wanted to get as much as possible. If you know, or maybe you don't know, for African Americans here, many of us cannot source our history, very far in the past. Typically, it's around 1800. We were able to go a little further back with my indigenous and with my European ancestors, so I can go back, more than 600 years now. But looking at these stories and looking at these faces, I had this feeling that I had this responsibility. For the beginning of my career, I made beautiful art for art's sake, where my heart was inspired. And a lot of that was figurative work, because I feel that the figure being human is the primary. That's how we experience the rest of the world. And so that became integral to my first journey with my artwork. But after reading my uncle's books, seeing pictures of ancestors that were slaves, that were slave owners, that were Native Americans, that were documents, land lost, land stolen, migration, so forth, and then also looking at ancestors who were immigrants from Germany and from Italy, and the time frame of what they were experiencing and what may have inspired them to come to America. This really brought home this question about American history and the power and the beauty and also the hypocrisy. So I started delving deep into wanting to really bring stories that are forgotten, or we say, oh, that was an episode in American history. Is that really relative to bring up? Well, it's greatly relative if you look at what's happening today, and the alienation and disenfranchisement of people of color. So and then growing up triracial in South Central also has been very impactful, watching the Watts riots and so forth, and being forbidden to go to certain places like pools and so forth because of my ethnicity. So the burden laid on me. I felt, I looked at these pictures and I felt Candace was looking back at me, and all of these people who sacrificed, who didn't give up because so that I could live and be here. I felt this call. Well, what can I do with what with my art? How can I use this as a tool to build empathy? So it's not finger pointing. It's about, let me tell you about history. We all have different stories, and let me massage your heart, and hopefully that'll make us a better group of human beings if we understand more about each other's journeys and challenges. So with my uncle's work, I translated that into installations, and these were installations where I wanted people to have an emotional experience, to really bring it these narratives to life. For example, the slave cabin that I created at the California African American Museum was filled with 500 slave narratives that were decoupaged on all of the walls and the ceiling and the floor. And you actually had a chance to read the stories, first-person narratives of people that suffered during slavery. Dim Days with Hell was how I can tell you about it all day long, but even then you wouldn't understand the awfulness of it, what it's like to be tied up to a tree and with a whip to draw blood with every lick. So those kinds of narratives brought home, okay, this could be Candace, this could be Fanny, this could be any number of people. I really want to carry this conversation forward. So that led to a lot of different installations relative to that. One of my more recent ones was with Cal State University Dominguez Hills. I had a 3-year partnership with them that just opened up the floor to me and said, make what you feel inspired to make. And Dr. Parham and his staff were there every beat of the way, and he said, go for it, no matter how difficult a conversation is. These are important conversations to have. So that exhibit was called The Measure of Things, and that really delved into how we judge other people just from afar, rich or poor, status you may have, or education and so forth, but particularly for people of color and how we're judged often before, we are, have the experience of getting to know each other. There's a lot of layers to it, but I think this pretty much sums up, my passion is about interconnectedness, bringing people together, building empathy, having important conversations about history, and building a community as well that I can with the tools that I have.
Thank you.